It's Wednesday, February 12th, and you're listening to the Stock Market Daily News Podcast, your essential wrap-up for investors and traders. Yesterday's markets pulled back as major indexes cooled from recent highs. The S&P 500 eased down, the Dow Jones slipped, and the Nasdaq retreated as tech stocks came under pressure. But the real action was in commodities and crypto, where gold continued its rally and Bitcoin saw another bout of volatility. Stay tuned for a packed episode. We're digging into record mutual fund flows into gold and silver, banking sector earnings in Europe, big changes at Kraft Heinz, and major moves in both digital and real-world asset tokenization. Let's get started with the numbers. The S&P 500 closed slightly lower, giving up a modest fraction after last week's advance. The Dow Jones dipped, dragged by weakness in financials and consumer stocks. The Nasdaq lagged, down nearly 1% as software and chip names struggled. Trading volume was elevated as volatility picked up in the second half of the session. First headline, investors are chasing shiny returns literally. According to the Economic Times, Indian mutual fund flows into gold and silver ETFs doubled month over month in January, soaring to nearly 34,000 crore rupees. For the first time ever, precious metal funds attracted more new money than equities, as gold returned 80% and silver an astonishing 158% year-on-year. This marks a marked shift toward performance chasing and risk aversion, with investors seeking safe havens as equity valuations get stretched. Key takeaway, watch for continued rotation into commodities if stock market uncertainty persists. Switching to corporate earnings, Commerzbank posted its strongest results since the financial crisis, reporting a record operating profit of €4.5 billion for full year 2025. Revenue jumped 10% to €12 billion, and the bank hiked its dividend and share buyback plans, returning €2.7 billion to shareholders. The cost-income ratio improved to 57%. The stock ticked higher on upbeat guidance for 2026 and renewed commitment to AI investments. Implication: European banks are gaining momentum, with shareholders reaping the rewards of improved profitability and capital discipline. Next up, Kraft Heinz is changing the recipe to restore growth. On its latest earnings call, the iconic food group unveiled a fresh $600 million investment focused on marketing, product innovation, and hiring, especially in its North American grocery segment. CEO Steve Cahillane identified underinvestment as a reason for sluggish organic growth and confirmed the company is pausing any separation plans to prioritize a multi-year turnaround. Kraft Heinz shares swung as investors weighed prospects for a comeback against near-term spending pressures. For investors, that means growth won't come overnight, but management is focused on rebuilding brand and market share. Turning to crypto and tech innovation, Robinhood has launched a testnet for its own Ethereum-based Layer 2 blockchain, aiming to bring tokenized stocks and ETFs on-chain for 24/7 trading. The move comes as the value of the tokenized commodities market, dominated by gold, has soared 53% in less than 6 weeks to over $6 billion, mainly thanks to digital gold products surging alongside physical gold's record run. This marks a growing push to bridge traditional assets and decentralized finance, a trend that could reshape trading hours and asset access for retail and institutional investors alike. Finally, a quick look at Bitcoin and digital assets. Bearish sentiment gripped crypto markets as Bitcoin fell through 67,000, down about 2.5%, with Ether sinking below $2,000. Crypto stocks like Coinbase and Robinhood lost up to 5% amid weaker volumes. Analysts point out that, lately, Bitcoin is responding more to changes in system liquidity than to Federal Reserve rate cut narratives, so watch money flows and balance sheet signals if you're trading in these markets. Recapping the big picture, the S&P 500, Dow, and Nasdaq all declined yesterday as investors rotated into defensives and sought out commodity exposure. Key stories included record mutual fund inflows into gold and silver, a blockbuster quarter for Commerzbank, Kraft Heinz's turnaround gambit, and new steps in tokenizing real-world assets. Markets are now watching upcoming U.S. inflation data, more earnings from consumer and tech giants, and Fed commentary for the next signals. That's it for today's episode of the Stock Market Daily News Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe for your briefing every weekday and visit our website for deeper insights. Thanks for tuning in. See you tomorrow for another fast, fact-driven market update.